Well, good morning, everyone. It is Stephanie Lueras from Heart and Soul Fitness and Wellness. And here we are with Coffee and Connect with me, Stephanie Lueras. So it is Monday morning, the 28th of February. Where did the month go? Oh my goodness. If you'd like to join me here live in the Zoom room, you can just go to bit.ly/coffee with Stephanie and get that link. Otherwise, enjoy it here on Facebook or the recording later, and maybe you'll join us live another week. But this is our time on Monday to come together and have a little chat about something related to health and wellness. If you have any burning health and wellness questions, please do drop them in the comments, DM me, email me, get in contact, because I'd love to tackle some of those hard topics for you and give you a little bit of guidance. Otherwise, you're coming up with what's on the top of my head and heart today. And today we are going to be talking about movement after respiratory illnesses, COVID, really any type of long or short-term illness that gets you out of the game. And big disclaimer, this is not to be construed as individual medical advice. Always go at the guidance of your physician. What I'm providing today is just a very broad stroke of some trends, what we're seeing as health and wellness professionals, especially in the area of movement, and hopefully a little bit of rest for your mind in what is possible and not possible for you. So, pandemic has been around now for quite a while, and either you or someone you know has probably been affected. And there are long-lasting side effects to COVID. We know this, it's not a big secret. And so there can be a hesitancy to begin or to restore movement that you might have been previously engaged in, whether it was a regular exercise regimen, an activity that you love, whatever that looks like. And really, we can put this getting back into movement after COVID into a larger umbrella of dealing with other respiratory illnesses or other long-term illnesses that affect both the respiratory system and the cardiovascular system. I've worked with a number of clients that have had COVID, that have recovered the different severities of COVID that they've experienced. And really what it comes down to is taking each day as it comes, learning what your limitations are right now, and just continuing what your body allows to be possible. And that sounds very vague, but I'm going to hopefully give you some examples today that make that a little bit more understandable. So I have not had COVID, so I personally can't relate to the feeling of coming back into movement after that particular illness. But several years ago, I had belly fever, which is a virus, it's an infection that affects the respiratory system, and really in specific, your lung capacity. And it was, for me, something that took a long time to get diagnosed because it's not always something on the top of mind of physicians. So I was sick for quite a while before I received the proper treatment for the condition. And so I went through things like, oh, it's a sinus infection. Oh, it's bronchitis. We're going to treat all these different things. And then once it was finally discovered and treated as belly fever, I got well quickly, but I wasn't able to resume immediately the level of movement that I'm used to. At that time, I can't even remember what race I was training for, but it had such an impact on my lung capacity that it also taxed my cardiovascular system. So when I would go out for a run, for a walk, that breathing was very difficult. It was something that taxed my body a lot more. I became more tired quickly. At that time, I also had to run in a mask. So masking up before masking was cool. And so even just the exercise breathing through a mask creates that a little bit more of a taxing experience. It took almost a year to reach full lung capacity again. I was down, I can't remember how low my lung capacity got, but building it back up took almost a year. I recovered a lot of the low numbers quickly, but that last 20% took a really long time. And when we look at recovering from any illness that we recover from, so we're not necessarily talking about chronic conditions, autoimmune conditions here, because we know that is going to be cyclical through life. But when we look at any type of illness that we do recover from, it's having that patience, it's having that grace with ourselves to try something right now. And if it's too much, back off. If it feels good, then we do it. If we push it a little bit and it becomes too strenuous, if it passes that point of appropriate comfort, then we know to back off. Especially in recovery, this isn't a linear process. You may feel really great one day and do a little bit more than you have. But then you come back the next day or the day after, and what you did before feels really difficult, is extremely hard. So do you push yourself then to that same point, or do you back off? That is where it gets very individual, because it's understanding that difference between discomfort and pain. It's understanding the difference between, am I just uncomfortable or am I causing further stress on my body? And that takes a lot of mindfulness and awareness about, how does my body feel and how am I achieving that way that I want to feel? So some days are going to feel great. Some days aren't. Now, on those days when it doesn't feel good, we start to look at, then, is this a time for complete rest, a lighter intensity form of movement, or is it the time that maybe this is in my head and not a physical feeling, and I do need that little bit of a push? Again, that's where not only our awareness comes in, but the accountability of working with different professionals, whether it is that consultation with your doctor, working with a physical therapist, a respiratory therapist, cardiovascular therapies, or even just your personal trainer or a workout buddy that can help you gauge, this is where things are. Keeping a log can be extremely helpful when integrating movement back in life after illness. And we're not only looking at a log of movement. We need to look at the other habits around recovering our body that also come into play. So we're looking at things like your sleep. Are you getting enough sleep? We talked about sleep and rest last week. Are you consistently eating? Are you nourishing your body with what it needs to heal, to sustain yourself? Are you well hydrated? Sometimes when we don't feel well, whether we're in that acute phase of the illness or recovering, hydration just isn't a top priority. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't sound good, but hydration is so essential, especially as we're recovering from an illness. And rest, sitting in that awareness of where we are right now and what is possible, and recharging during those waking hours. So this all comes around to what's possible. And it's the vaguest answer that you're always going to get when I'm recovering from an illness. What is possible? Take each day as it comes, have patience, be aware of your needs, and also consult with professionals or get that accountability you need to help you move forward without pushing yourself past that brink of what is healthy in recovery. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. I'm more than happy to have a conversation on what that might look like for you. Again, we will be back every Monday at 9 a.m. Arizona time for Coffee and Connect. You can always join me at bit.ly/Coffee with Stephanie. This recording gets put out on all of my social media networks, so you can feel free to listen and share later. But more than anything, be well and treat yourself well. Have a great day.